The rumor mill is alive and well as we enter into the final few days of the current state of the Carolina Panthers roster. The speculation starts to boil over. What is this team going to look like? We know that there are going to be some cuts that make us go, oh my gosh, I can't believe the Carolina Panthers did that. So as I sit here and try to battle some of these conversations around Haynes King and a third quarterback when there's much more valuable players, there's a lot more to discuss related to the Carolina Panthers. It's going to be a very interesting few days as we sort through this. Everyone's going to have their opinion. And so here's my thought. Whatever your opinion is on the state of the roster and where you think it should go, like that's your opinion. So you get to have it. And I appreciate you bringing that into the fold. As I was on Twitter today talking about Haynes King and saying, guys, this guy's probably not going to be here on the active roster. Practice squad, yes. Active roster, no, when we get down to cuts. Now, we've seen crazier things happen, so I'm not going to completely rule it out. I've already said that multiple times, but our good friend Bebop, who I know calls or texts into WFNZ, was one to say that Haynes King is the best thing that we've had since a Cam Newton and a Jake Delhomme, which is great. He stays on par with hating on Bryce Young. It's just naturally what he does. But we're going to get into the show today. Number one, RIP to Dolly Parton. Wild. No more Dolly Parton. She did a lot of good things. Our kids get the Dolly Parton books through her foundation, which is awesome. Free books they send out every month. Helps encourage reading on that fun stuff. We're not here to talk about it, but we do have to take a moment there. We're going to talk about linebackers. Is there a need for the Carolina Panthers to trade, to sign one, to find one on waiver wire? We don't know who's going to be available on waiver wire. We're much further down the list. So if we want a guy, do we go down a similar path that we did a few years ago when we traded for a Mike Jackson for a late round pick? It was a pick, giving up 7th rounder. Guy we just drafted, and Barrett, who actually I think just tried out for the Commanders today. Is that the path that the Carolina Panthers go down? How did we get here is the real question. And I will say this. I think if the Carolina Panthers brought back Christian Roseboom, I'm not saying he was the best option, but I do believe he may have been a better option than Trevin Wallace and Claudon Cherless. Now, as we weigh this battle, I personally, this is my opinion, I think Claudon Cherless has the nod. I know the depth chart says what it says with Trevin Wallace being there, but I think Claudon Cherless, there's just a little more to him, very limited. So this is all speculation, but to me, Claudon Cherless is the one that gets the early nod. And then it becomes a conversation of where does Trevin fit into this? Bam Martin Scott. But given that, you have a situation here with the Carolina Panthers where we've said it. Good linebackers, the Panthers, good teams. That's how this has worked. It's what we have known, and it's been fortunate for us. But it's not just the Panthers. Good football teams have good linebackers. Naturally, not saying that every team is going to have a stout all-pro, Pro Bowl, or any of that. But they have a pretty good one. Got to have someone who knows what they're doing on the defensive side of the ball that's wearing the green dot. Carolina Panthers have been trying to find something. We know about Shaq Thompson. Unfortunately, he did follow in the shoes of Thomas Davis and Luke Kuechly. And I do think he lived up to the standard that we've had. It's not to say that he's a future Hall of Famer, but he's going to be a Panthers great. One of those Panthers. You can call him a Panthers legend. Yes. That doesn't mean he's going up in the Ring of Honor, but yes, that's what he is. Now, I know he battled his injuries. Unfortunately, the Panthers made a business decision to move on. But should the Carolina Panthers be thinking about bringing him in? I don't know. There's possibilities for everything. And I know he's a year older, and honestly, 2 years older from the time that he was here. So I don't know that that's the case. But you look at this, where I was going with this. You think about bringing in Devin Lloyd, you have essentially been sitting here at a car dealership, and let's say it's a Ferrari dealership. So we are a Ferrari dealership, but for the longest time, we have only been selling Toyotas. No knock on Toyotas because I have a Toyota. We've been selling Toyotas. That's what we've had in stock. So to be honest, we've been selling something, but it's really people aren't coming in here for that. Like, people are not coming in here to buy that. They want the top of the line. They want the Ferrari. They want the sports car. Drop 100 grand, 200 grand, but they're coming in and seeing, oh, you only have a Toyota. Sorry, I'm not interested. Like, this isn't working out for me. Carolina Panthers have had a lot of Toyotas. Let's be honest. That's what they have had. Now you have a situation where we're the Ferrari dealership. We have a Ferrari. We got a Ferrari now in Devin Lloyd. That is the type of value that he brings. Yes, people are lining up. Now that I have my Ferrari on the lot, I've got all these suitors that are ready to buy it. People are very interested. And now I've seen, oh, wow, this is what that can do when you bring someone and have that type of value. That's what it can do for you. And now I look over at my Toyotas and I'm like, guys, we got to step it up here. Nobody's absolutely, I got to put you at the back of the lot. We got to hide you because, you're defects and you're just not up to the standard of what we now expect here. So it begs the question as we look at this of just what did the Carolina Panthers do? And that's not to say you're going to get two Ferraris. Naturally, you're not going to have two all-pro type linebackers. Number one, it's expensive. But you do have to have some competent play to pair with him. Like, okay, maybe you have a Ferrari and you drop down. You don't have a Toyota, but you have a Lexus. You have a little bit downgrade from where it is, or a BMW. I don't know. I'm not a car person, but you throw in a little bit smaller model. So it's like, okay, we're going to specialize in luxury cars. That's where the Carolina Panthers have to go. I did not anticipate going down the path of talking about that. But that's the question. Carolina Panthers, and like I said, I think Christian Rozeboom, I know the coverage was an issue, but I think Christian Rozeboom better, at least in Trevin Wallace, I can say. Maybe better than Claudon Cherless. Claudon Cherless another year older. But this is where we are. And so now, naturally, people want to know, what are the Carolina Panthers going to do? Are they going to find someone else? Can they bring in another option that's going to be available? So we look at the potential free agency market, as I said here. Bobby Wagner, at least. You know what? We're going to make sure as we go through our list, because I pulled a list, and then sometimes I feel like as I go through this, it's like, I don't know that particular person is actually going to be available. So look at the available options. Okay. So yes, he is available. Bobby Wagner, who is 36 years old. Bobby Okereke, who previously played with the Giants, he is 30. Levante David, I don't think that's an option. He is 36 to 36.6, 36 and a half. You have Logan Wilson, formerly with the Cowboys. Kenneth Murray, formerly with the Cowboys. Matt Milano, who was with Buffalo. Chris Board, another Giant, or a Giant, I should say. Jermaine Pratt, who spent time with the Colts. Jerome Baker from the Browns. Ezekiel Turner, who previously played with Detroit. Zach Cunningham with Detroit. And then Shaq Thompson at 32 years old, previously with Buffalo. Lots of experience available. We get into kind of lower tier, and I don't think any of these names are jumping off the page at me. Caleb Johnson, who spent time in Miami. Jacob Phillips, who spent time in Indy. J.J. Russell with Arizona. Like, those names are not moving the needle for me. So it's a very slim market. And so the question becomes, if you are the Carolina Panthers and you're Dan Morgan, you're making a commitment to sign a veteran in Darren Waller to upgrade that room. Do you make the same commitment to bring in a linebacker who's going to be here for a year? Are you in this state? And I don't think the Panthers, like, yes, I know that their aspirations are to make a Super Bowl. Like that, no team is signing up to say, I would just want to win the division and call it a day. as fans, we can set our own expectations and be realistic about, yeah, Rams probably one of the better teams. Seahawks still a really good football team. How are we going to get through those? Those are the questions. But you kind of look at this and say, okay, well, are the Panthers trying to take the next step, winning a playoff game, winning 2 playoff games? Do they feel that bringing in this player is worthy of doing that over playing the guys that are here today and just riding with it and giving these guys more experience? Because if you do believe in Wallace or Cherless, your thought is, well, maybe if we give them more playing time that they'll eventually pan out. I don't know that that's the case, but that's part of, what people are thinking through. So that's a discussion. Then it becomes, okay, if you don't do that, potential options that you can look at via trade. And as far as where these guys fit in, again, not saying these guys are on the market or even available, but someone that I've seen floated around. So Ivan Pace Jr. out of the Minnesota Vikings. Again, not necessarily saying he's going to be there, but maybe a mid to late round pick. Jack Sanborn for Chicago. Chicago's got, some issues and health on the defensive side of the ball, and they're playing us in week 1, so I don't know that that's necessarily the case. But like I said, this is a situation where before you hit waivers, before these guys hit waivers, it's your last chance. And is there someone on the Texans? I don't know. That's the nice thing about joint practices is you get extra scouting. So you get to look at some of these backup guys, look at some of the additional, like, okay, well, we just had a firsthand look at Jacksonville. Now we're going to get a firsthand look at here in Houston. I wouldn't be surprised if we get through this and there's a guy or two from either one of those rosters that the Panthers end up picking up only because they've had that firsthand experience with them. So something for us to keep in the back of our mind. What will the Carolina Panthers do? I don't know. I threw up a Dave Canales meme yesterday. Was Dave Canales in his press conference at some point just threw his hands up for nothing related to anything I'm doing, of course. And I was like, that's me when someone says, what do I think the Carolina Panthers are going to do with their roster? Speaking of roster, joint practice, how about what's happening down in Florida between the Jacksonville Jaguars and Tampa Bay Bucks? Someone that we just experienced some playing time with. Apparently, according to Baker Mayfield, they are getting tore up. That is the Tampa Bay Bucks against the Jaguars. I don't know what it means. Like, let's be real. We can hype this up. I just think we overanalyze. It is the wildest thing. Like, if you think about football in the NFL, it is its own beast for a reason. Because I don't know how many people are analyzing preseason anything to the level that we do when it comes to this. Like, I just don't. But that's what we do. We analyze every play, every snap. That's how much people want football and how much they believe in it. So anyways, he called today eye-opening and said he thought that they were out-physicaled, which you never want. Yeah, you never want that. But that's good for us. Not saying that it's going to translate into anything. You look at where the Panthers are right now, week 1 against the Bears, mending on the defensive side of the ball. Week 2, the Falcons. Now, Penix back in the mix, but they're still trying to figure out a quarterback. And then whatever the heck is going on with Watson and Cleveland and Shedeur Sanders. And then Detroit. Again, kind of some storylines early storylines that kind of lead us into the season. Makes me feel a little bit more optimistic about where the Carolina Panthers sit, which is positive. Anyways, let's keep it moving. We had our good friend, Dave Canales, join the Stephen A. Smith show. This is out on YouTube. Please stay on this video before you go out and watch it. I'd very much appreciate it, or listen to the podcast. It was nice, though. A 16-minute long Dave Canales talking about Bryce Young, the playoff loss, NFC South rivals, and all the pieces that come from that. But it is a really good segment that I would recommend going back because, Coach Canales emphasized Bryce Young's ownership of the offense, which is something we've talked about, what the offseasons looked like, entering in his 4th season, saying that he's more comfortable anticipating coverages and leading the young skill group as the veteran. Like, he is the veteran there, pulling them along. when he was talking about his coaching philosophy, he said he's here to allow for a more holistic approach to game management. Again, we talked about handing over the play calling duty. And if I had to give an award for the preseason, I'm going to give an award to Brad Idzik. Like, when we saw what we saw last week, I said, hey, Brad, you might want to tone it down a little bit. I don't want you out here showing everything that can be available. He has got this thing cooking, and he's cooking it on a level that I wasn't expecting. Like, I'm going to be honest. You got to see it in the season, so I don't want to get too excited. But Brad Idzik, to me, gets the early award for, I don't know, you call him most improved, most valuable, whatever you want to tell him. So it's good. But going back to the coaching philosophy, Canales talking through how, giving up play calling allows him to manage key situational decisions, timeouts, challenges, all those things that he just didn't have the time to do. And as we've seen with Brad Idzik, I think things are going to be okay on the offensive side of the ball. He said, hey, and by the way, we have a new episode of The Blueprint, I believe, coming out tomorrow. So we'll have some fun stuff that will come from that, I'm sure, through camp. But he did say the team is moving forward. 3 core pillars for training camp: vision, joy, and urgency. Focuses on building the chemistry quickly to become the best version of the 2026 team. And then as far as roster outlook, he said, despite external questions, the coach is excited about his young playmakers, expects the pass rush to be a major point of growth. Pass rush, if that thing can take off, if we can see this continue into the season and the room progresses and all these guys start to step up even without scoring, setting ourselves up to be a really good defense this year. And if Bryce Young takes a step forward, we're talking about a good football team, which is what we all want to sign up for, right? A good football team. That's why we pull for them. That's why we watch the Panthers. So excited to see what happens there. Last thing we'll do, and I'm not pulling it up, guys, but the mess that is the Detroit Lions. Speaking of Detroit Lions and their new uniforms, if you have not seen the new uniforms, they are almost a replica of the Carolina Panthers. Like, I don't get it. I'm also not a uniform aficionado. I'm not going to, get upset about all these things, but they are pretty dang close. It's not as bad, though, as Minnesota and Baltimore playing each other in purple on Sunday. I turned, or whatever day it was, I turned on the game and I was like, purple on purple. It was ridiculous having to watch that. Almost as ridiculous as the NFL guys trying to come back to college football. So there you have it. Anyways, folks, hey guys, I'm excited. I officially got to start doing this so that maybe you can have a little bit of fun with it. I'm excited to introduce my first partnership here in collaboration with Dash Dog Food. We're going to play an ad from them. Don't worry, I'm not going to overwhelm you with ads, but we'll play that as we close out today's episode. We'll have the link available. I'll put it on the YouTube channel as well as on Spotify. And of course, you guys, and I'll get better at reading this as we get into it. But for today, that is going to do it. This is Carolina Dad.